Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everyone. My name is Bukamo Sasiopela, and I'm here together with the NetCP team. Firstly, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us on this fantastic Thursday afternoon and joining us on this webinar on how to successfully back up anything into a hybrid cloud environment. Firstly, I'm joined by my team from NetCP, Mr. Justin Foxcroft, who's our sales director, and Mr. Quivers Burgers, our managing director. From the SEP team, we're joined by Mr. Klaus, who is the pre-sales engineer, and Barbara, who's a sales manager from SEP. Once again, please don't fall short to ask any questions that you might have during this presentation. And if you do have any questions that you'd like to raise at the end of the presentation, we'll also be taking questions later on there. So yeah, I think I can hand it over to Klaus and we can further talk about the SEP backup system. All right, thanks a lot, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Bokamoso, for these introduction words, and I welcome everybody, and it's really a pleasure for me to hold this session about our backup software, SEP Sesam. And for this webinar, which is just part of a series, I guess, we have decided for very specific topics about our achievements and competition considerations. And this is not the general introduction to our software. However, with these topics, I'm pretty sure that you will learn a lot about our software and the strengths, the power, the benefits, and some market argumentations. So, first of all, who we are? We are SEP, which is a German company based with the headquarters near Munich, and we have the development over here. We have the headquarter, sales, Q&A. Our support is also based in Germany. Very, very competent people, I can honestly say. And well, so this is our building, our headquarters, and we are active all over the world. We have customers in almost now more than 64 countries. So this figure is a little bit out of date now. And as we are not such a big company to really cover the complete world, we have to rely on our partners, our valuable partners like the NetCP, which is a very valuable partner in the African market. We have other partners all over the world, and we help these partners, we train these partners to sell our software. Yeah, so if SAP and our backup software is not so familiar to you, then normally someone from the vendor like me is trying to tell you the best of our software, and I will tell you that we are the best. But of course, I'm the vendor, I have to say that, and you might have the experience that every vendor is saying that they are the best. This is called marketing. So normally you would like to see some sort of proof. Why should they be the best? And there are, from my experience, two sources where you can get some neutral information about the software, the rating, evaluation, and so on. So the first one are the customers. You can definitely listen to other customers. You can have a look at our homepage where we have our reference cases. You can learn a little bit about the specific configuration from different branches, especially from the public sector. We are very strong in the public sector, and other partners from telecom, IT, and so on. So these are only some examples, and they can be found most of them on our homepage. I will show you a little bit where you can see this. And this is some neutral source if you talk to our customers. The second source is analysts. And you know, there are analysts like IDC or Gartner from the United States. They set up their own criteria to rate vendors. It's not a rating of the customers, it's the rating of the analysts. And they try to match all the vendors into their own criteria. And Gartner, for instance, they have some very specific criteria because it's an American-based analyst. They make the requirement that every company they rate have a huge installed base in the US with revenue requirements and so on. So they are not neutral. They are completely American based. Here is a rating from Storage Insider. This is a European portal, I would say, for storage. And every year they make a kind of survey from their web portal. And we have been rated just a couple of weeks ago with the Silver Award. Now you might say, well, silver, that's not the best, that's only second. Yeah, but let's have a look a little bit on the details. There's a voter participation of more than 50,000 readers of this portal. And they are giving their votings, filling out the online formulas and so on. So this is definitely a huge percentage. And then we have a strong competition. You can see, if you are familiar with the backup market, these names might be not new to you. You will know them all, these competitors. And in the end, we are not second, to be honest. We are third because the rating was Veeam is platinum, Commvault gold, and we are silver. But regarding this competition, I think we are really, really strong, and we have very good customers giving the best ratings for us. So we are very proud of this rating. And the next one is the Techconsult rating. That's a Heise group, which is kind of an editor in Europe. And they have their own analysts, and they do not set up their own criteria. They ask the customers. They have an address base of more than 100,000 companies, and they just choose 2,000 of them, and then they send these 2,000 customers a survey formula to answer maybe 60 questions about the software they have in place, the backup software, how satisfied they are with the software, with the company, with the product, with the roadmap and functionality, and so on. There are a lot of different areas. And this was the result last year. So the last year was the 2020 diamond. This is called a diamond, and you can see that SEP is here in the top. Well, after 2 years being as a performer, we have been last year first time as a champion. You can see our competitors. We have Veeam over here. We have Dell EMC with Networker over here. Paragon, which is a very small backup software for small environments. We have Commvault over here, ArcServe. You know the names already, every name. And now, I guess 1 week ago, there was the new diamond for 2021. Yeah, and yes, SAP last year, our last year certificate. And now this is the new one for this year. It's really brand new. It's absolutely hot because now our customers have rated us being the absolute topmost champion. And this was a total surprise to us. And we are really, really proud of this end user rating. You can see Veeam has lost a little bit. They are now in the performer area. Dell has lost, Networker has lost, and we are now rated top in this area. Here's Veritas, brand new in the champions area with Net Backup and Backup X, HPE. Maybe this is related to Data Protector. I'm not sure, even if this is now Micro Focus. This might be the case over here with HPE. I mean, I'm not sure about this because Micro Focus is not listed over here. So it might be HPE, the Data Protector. Yeah, so this is the rating, and I think we can really be proud of this result. Yeah, these are the groups. You know, there are about 14 categories, and in 10 categories, we were rated #1. And in all other 4 categories, the leftovers, we have been #2, which is also not bad. So definitely our customers are fully satisfied with our product, our company, our vision, our service and support, and so on. This is very important. Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about competition, because we are not alone at the market. We are trying to play with the sharks, you know. And now, what is our place in the market? And just to give you a little bit of an overview of a couple of projects, here we have some customers and the size of the environment and the replaced backup software. And here we have the arguments, the reasons why these customers have chosen for SEP. And if we reduce the view to these two columns, and let's have a look at the arguments. Certified SAP backup. So Atempo was not certified for SAP. So they were looking for a new backup solution. They have a Linux focus, and we also have our Linux history. You might know that we have also grown up with a Novell world, which is now part of Micro Focus, with the NetWare software, with the OAS software today. We are still supporting OAS today, definitely. So we have kind of a Linux history, Unix history, where a lot of scripting interfaces, APIs, a very flexible product. So these have been reasons for this customer. Reduced maintenance cost. This is always, I would say, a topic with TSM customers, because TSM is not a cheap product, especially the maintenance costs. And this customer does not even buy online agents for Oracle, for SAP, because these agents are really expensive with TSM. And when they have decided to migrate to SAP Sesam, they got all these agents included in our volume licensing model, and they were able to do at once online backup for Oracle, for SAP, and so on. So this is a good argument for our software. Then we have backup exec, you know, Veritas. They have stopped the support of SAP a couple of years ago, and then maybe 2 years ago they have stopped to support IBM Domino with backup exec. And you know, Domino is kind of a shareware, groupware, emailing program, and normally it's really stuck into the processes at a customer. You do not easily change your Domino software as a mailing and share collaboration software. You would rather like to swap your backup software, and that's what these customers are doing. They started calling us because they need Domino backup. Arcserve, also SAP HANA backup. Arkia, this is a customer having a virtual OES cluster with a VMware environment, virtual VMs as cluster nodes. Here we have performance as an issue. Price is always an issue. We have flexible MSP pricing. That's also good for if you're a managed service provider, acting like a managed service provider. Yeah, this customer was making use of older versions. Sometimes you have old applications. You need to run these older versions of these applications like Oracle, because you have some proprietary applications using this database. You cannot update this because of several reasons. And well, you might know that our old agents are still compatible with the latest version of our backup software. So you can really have an old version running on Windows 2000 maybe. You can use our old agent for Windows 2000 still. That's possible, even if there's no support from Microsoft and so on. Yeah, and Oracle support for old versions running out of date, definitely. Yeah, data protector replacement. I think I have a slide about this later on, because data protector customers, from my experience, very often complain about the support matrix. It's not always up to date. It always takes a year or longer until they support the latest Windows version or the latest SAP HANA version. So that's the experience we have with these kind of customers. So, and in this customer, we were recommended by HP and SAP. So this is definitely some strong arguments for the customers to switch to our software. And some other kind of niche products or niche agents we have in our software for open source environments like KVM, OpenNebula, Here we have HANA backup on IBM Power Systems, which is not Intel, which is another hardware architecture, and we support also other hardware architecture. So, and Red Hat virtualization, so a lot of hypervisors. You can see there are a lot of arguments for our software, and if we evaluate a comparison with a competitor, we can make a model, a kind of shell-based model, and there might be products which do good backup, but they are very limited. I don't know if you have ever heard of Haiku. Haiku is a backup software which is meant only for Nutanix backup. So it's very dedicated, very specific. And if you have something else in your environment, like some databases and so on, it's not possible with Haiku. You can do a Nutanix backup. Then we have a data protection manager from Microsoft. He can do definitely more than Haiku, but still, except doing VMware snapshots, it's essentially for Microsoft environments. So the target customers are Hyper-V customers using Exchange, using SharePoint, using Microsoft SQL Server, and so on. So it's dedicated for these Microsoft environments. And if you have a Linux physical server with an Oracle on Linux running on this Linux server, then you don't have a chance to do a backup with DPM. And I guess there's not even deduplication included in this software. So it's really limited regarding the environments. Then we have Veeam. Veeam can definitely do more than DPM, but it's still somehow limited to virtual environments, only Hyper-V and VMware. If you have other hypervisors like Red Hat virtualization, like Citrix, like KVM, you have to look for other backup software. And also if you have physical servers, like some HPE Superdome server running SAP HANA, huge HANA databases on physical servers, that's nothing Veeam can cover. That's not possible, definitely. Or if you look at the Micro Focus world, like group-wise backup, like this example I had a couple of slides ago with this virtual OES cluster, that's nothing Veeam can cover. Yeah, and then we have the next shell over here, where we have these kind of medium or nearly enterprise products like iXurf, like Backup Exec, like Data Protector, NetVault, and they can do more, definitely, but they cannot do everything. They are still limited. And then we have the enterprise products, which have barely no limits. They have almost the same broad support matrix as we have, and you really have to look at all the details if there is something missing. Of course, there are differences, and we really have a broad support matrix, but they also have a broad support matrix. Networker, Commvault, TSM, and so on. Yeah. So if you would like to compare the software, our software, with our competitors, then you need to have a look at the features first. Yeah. And the features are, these functionalities are based on our functionality. We can cover this all. And I don't know if all our competitors can cover this. Yeah. These are not unique selling points. There are always some others who can do some of these, but there are always only a few who can cover this. And for instance, if you look at the generic features, it's the hardware platform. Intel is covered by almost every backup software, but for IBM Power Systems, and we really provide all our agents. We are certified, SAP certified for HANA on Power, so we are really dedicated for the Power platform. We have already compiled our packages for ARM technology, the ARM technology, like the Huawei Taishan server. So with our next release, we will also support the ARM technology. And this is something growing at the market. If you consider buying new servers, maybe from Huawei or others, which are using this hardware architecture, you can rely on our software for the future, definitely. Then we have the operating system, Linux, Windows, and of course, we not only support one Linux, we support SUSE, Red Hat, Debian, Ubuntu, Univention, and all these kind of flavors of Linux flavors, and always the up-to-date versions. I guess Red Hat has released RHEL 8 in November, and 2 weeks later we had it on our support matrix. So we are pretty fast having our support matrix up to date. And this is also the choice for the backup server. Our backup server can run on Windows or can run on Linux. It's your choice. And if you know our competitors, then you know with Veeam, with DPM, with Commvault, the backup server always has to run on Windows. It's not your choice. Yeah. So the physical and the virtual world you have to cover with all the hypervisors. And I've told you already that we are supporting 8 hypervisors. And especially if you have a multi-hypervisor environment like VMware for your productive world, and maybe some open source product like KVM for your development world, QA, and so on, to save some VMware costs. You are using open source products for development. You can back up them all with one product, with our product. The hypervisors, the applications, and the databases. We have online agents for almost every you can imagine. Have a look at our support matrix. Disaster recovery of physical servers, Windows or Linux, that's also important. I've made the example with the HPE Superdomes and the HANA servers. It's not enough to do a backup of the HANA database. In case of a hardware failure, you need to set up new hardware, and then you need some disaster recovery functionality. You need an ISO image to install the system on new hardware, and this is all integrated in our software. Yeah, and then there are some specific functionalities. A lot of our customers really like our performance because we grab all the bandwidth which is there, and we are pretty fast, almost native with the operating system commands when copying data. Yeah, we have deduplication integrated in our software. And if you look at the deduplication, then, well, it's not always the same. Have a deeper look at it. You need to have global deduplication. If you look at Veeam, for instance, they start deduplication from scratch for every VM. So the deduplication ratio will never be better than 3-to-1 or 4-to-1. I guess it will never be better because they start from scratch every time. We have a global deduplication. So with every branch office you back up, the data will be deduplicated on a global scale. And we have source side deduplication, we have target side, we have the replication based on deduplication, and so on. We have lots of interfaces, very flexible product, and some enterprise customers do not even use our graphical user interface. They manage everything by external tools, using our command line interface, using the REST API to extract data and display it in system management tools like Nagios or CheckMK and so on. So you need all these kind of interfaces, like scripting with Ansible, like matching with directories like Active Directory or LDAP, Open LDAP, eDirectory. That's all possible with our software. All these kind of external interfaces. We have a web UI, and I just recently heard that NetBackup does not have a web UI. Maybe they are working on it, and we have a web UI as a dashboard for reporting and monitoring, and we also have the web UI for as a restore wizard, so that you can give this web UI and access to this web UI. So this is related to the multi-tenancy, because you can create logins and authorization, authentication, permissions to have access to only your own data and not the data of the other department or other people. So this is important together with the web UI, so that you can do a restore only of your own data. Yeah. Then we have encryption functionality. from the communication between the client and the backup server, or the data itself can be encrypted. You can encrypt the data transport via HTTPS or via certificate-based communication encryption methods. So this is all included in our software. And then we have some cloud interfaces, like doing a replication of the deduplicated data to S3 into AWS and so on. Then some proprietary functionality like the HPE Catalyst, and also NetApp storage snapshots. This is also something you have to compare with all the others. There are some soft facts, like our flexible licensing models, from the smallest to the biggest enterprise environment with hundreds of parallel backups. So it definitely scales well. We have always competitive pricing because we have several license and pricing models. So we always find the right one for your environment. Our service and support is always rated pretty good. In all these awards we got, service and support is always rated best. Then we have the GDPR. You know that Germany is a country having one of the strongest data protection regulations. So if you need to be GDPR compliant somehow because you have a branch office in Europe, or if you are dealing with companies from Europe, you need to be compliant with GDPR. And we can really prove that we do not have any backdoors for governments or agencies, whatever kind of, they do not have access to our data. References and awards we have talked about. Project flexibility means that if you have specific requirements, like for example, we had a project where they needed NDMP support. We were able to implement this functionality in 2 weeks into our software to help this customer to get his NDMP support. So if you need something specific and it's of good value also for us, we can be very flexible with our development and help you in whatever requirement you might have. We have very good partner models so that also our partners have fun to work with us, and we have a lot of tools to help our partners with our software. We have specific business models or white papers for MSPs, for managed service providers. And we have very good partnerships to a lot of partners like Red Hat, like SAP, like Oracle. These are all very important partners for us, and we work very closely together with these partners. Yeah, then the topic with the roadmap and the personality, which means that you can talk directly to us. Sometimes if you call our support, it's possible to also talk to our development manager in person. So you have direct access to all the people in our company. And this is also, I think, a very good thing. Yeah, now if you look at one of our competitors, which is acting strong at the market, and to be honest, I guess that Veeam has a very good product, but it's somehow limited to specific environments. And if you look at it, like Veeam being a fruit knife, which is very good for peeling fruits or cutting fruits, maybe apples, and this means it's limited to VMware, Hyper-V, Microsoft applications, and Oracle somehow. So this is the support matrix of Veeam. If you look at SAP, we are acting more like a Swiss knife, which means we have agents for a lot of hypervisors, a lot of databases, a lot of hardware architectures, and so on. So this is definitely a important difference of these two products. And you always have to have a look at the complete solution, which means software, licenses, plus hardware. The software licenses might be cheaper with Veeam, but if you look at the complete solution together with hardware, it's not the same then. For instance, if you look at the deduplication, we have our integrated software deduplication, which can save a lot of storage, and we can make use of HPE Catalyst with this D2 pipeline, store once. That's also possible. If you use the integrated deduplication with Veeam, it's starting all over again every virtual machine. It's not a global deduplication, so you need more storage, or you need to rely on deduplication appliances. You need a WAN accelerator, and there are hardware restrictions for this WAN accelerator, which are not cheap. You need to really buy SSDs and so on. This is all necessary for the WAN accelerator. Yeah? SAP backup, of course, Veeam can do an SAP backup, but we have it integrated, for instance, in the HANA Studio. You can trigger the backup and the restore from the HANA Studio. And we support all these SAP-specific dedicated functionalities like SAP HANA clusters, like the parallel back-in channels, and so on. There's a lot of functionality we really support in the SAP arena. This means the complete portfolio, also the SAP NetWeaver, on MaxDB, on Oracle, with Linux or Windows. We have an agent for ASE and so on. So we cover the full SAP portfolio, and this is much, much more. And we have all the certification, the SAP certification. Then if you look at the license costs, it can differ a lot. You have to look at the details. For instance, Veeam is always with 9 to 5 support, and if you need to have 7 by 24, it has a lot of extra costs. And most of the license models we have always 7 to 24 support included in our license model already. So make sure that you do not compare apples with peers. So if we look at the data protector replacements, and the fact is that the data protector is now no longer at HPE, it's now with Micro Focus, and a lot of data protector customers are fully HPE minded customers, I would say. And now when data protector has moved to Micro Focus, the ball game is completely new for these HPE customers, because normally they wanted to have everything from one vendor, everything from HPE, and this is not possible anymore. So here's the history of data protector and reasons why these customers try sometimes to replace their product is that it's not everything from one source, from HPE. Then they complain about the roadmap and strategy for the future, that it's not a strategic product at Micro Focus, and sometimes with the support, it's not the same support as they had with HPE. So that's what customers are telling us, and our experience might not be true for every customer, definitely, but that's in fact the outcome of our discussions with data protector customers. Yeah, and if you look at the functional perspective, yeah, we have the multi-hypervisor support. That's much more than data protector can do. We have the full HANA support, completely integrated deduplication, very efficient software deduplication. We have the APIs, and the Catalyst integration was really necessary to catch up with the data protector, and we now have really full covering of the Catalyst integration, which means not only backup and restore, we also cover Catalyst copy, we support Cloud Bank storage, and all these additional functionalities to the Catalyst integration. Yeah, from a financial perspective, I have not heard any complaints of these data protector customers when they are trying to replace their product by SEP, and I've told already about our different license models. We have a lot of options over here. Yeah, the future perspective, strategic global partnerships, and we have a really strong partnership with HPE now, and extend this partnership from project to project. And we have the GDPR topic, which is very important, especially in the public sector. And that's why we have a lot of customers, reference customers, also in the public sector, like some municipalities and provinces and so on. Yeah, we have a very competent support from Germany. So you really talk to the experts, and if you have such a broad support matrix like we have, these people in the support, they need to have a lot of know-how for all these databases, for all these hypervisors, all these networks and servers and storage and everything. So you can really be sure that we have a lot of know-how in these areas and help the customers. Yeah, so in fact, this was kind of an overview from a market perspective of our software, and I would just like to show you our homepage over here. This is our homepage, www.sepsoftware.com, and here's the navigation. You see our advertisement of the Office 365, backup support, G Suite, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics. There's much, much more. And if you click on navigation, you have two important menu items. One is the, over here we have the references. You might have a look at the references. As I have shown you before, you will find the stories over here. Also some municipalities, public sectors, that's all over here. And also we have our technical documentation, our wiki, and from this landing page you have our support matrix. And now here you can look at the support matrix. These are the operating systems. Here we have the hypervisor support, we have the database support, groupware support. And if you look at the operating systems like Linux, you see /15 on IBM Power. Even on set systems, we have a package available. We have OES 2018, we have a RHEL 8, we have CentOS, Oracle Linux. So I guess there's nothing missing. And even if you try to do a test environment, a little test environment, it's possible to download our software for a 30 days trial period. And then if you would like to do VMware test backup, maybe you click on VMware and check the environment. So vSphere 7 is supported as well since our last service pack. So this is possible if this is part of your environment, for instance, or Citrix Hypervisor 8.2, that's up to date as well, definitely. Yeah. And here is our documentation. And this is also something our customers are really raving about, that we have a very, very good documentation for all our modules, all our agents. And if they need to find some specific information, they can click on whatever they need. If you do a test setup of VMware, then I would recommend that you first click on the quick start. Yeah, and with the quick start, you find all the information about hardware requirements, how to install, setting up the first concepts, understanding the concepts, creating a backup task, and so on. It's all described in detail. And then you decide that you do a maybe VMware test backup. Then click on VMware, and here you find the requirements about the transport modes, about the VDDK versions and packages, and how to configure VMware backup, and all the associated functionalities like single file restore, like instant recovery, sandbox restore, change block tracking, and all these functionalities relevant for VMware backup. And here with some hard copies, how you configure it in our software. And this helps to really set up your environment. And with a trial period, also support is included. You can call our support and they will help you if you got stuck somewhere. And you can, well, test the competency of our support. That is something I can promise you, and it's true. Well, yeah, that's so far what I have provided for this session. Do we have any questions?
Thanks a lot for that, Klaus. Doesn't look like any questions have been raised thus far, but I'm pretty sure everyone enjoyed themselves. That was a very fascinating presentation you just did for us. Very much appreciate that. Once again, is there anyone that'd like to raise a question just before we continue with the closure? Okay. All right then. Thanks a lot for joining us, everyone. Please feel free to go ahead and visit our website at www.netcb.com, and a copy of this webinar will be there, so you can forward it to the rest of your colleagues and so forth, in case they need to rewatch it for referrals or anything of the matter. But yeah, thank you very much.
Bokomoso?
Yes, Justin?
It's Kobus here. I have a question.
Yes, Kobus?
Okay. If you have virtual machines running in the Azure or AWS cloud, and you have your backup system sitting on premise, what is the best strategy to make sure that you can back up your systems from those clouds?
Normally, if you use the infrastructure of Azure, for example, then it's called infrastructure as a service, and the virtual machines from Azure are provided in your own network. They have the right IP addresses, and they are part of your own network, and then it's completely transparent for us. If they are accessible in the same network, or if it's not the same network, then you need to set up a VPN connection. If this is possible, then you can always access these VMs and do a backup of the data.
Okay. If you want to use, for example, AWS as a extension, because you don't have enough storage on premise, what is the best approach with SEP in making use of the bucket storage on AWS?
Yeah, no, normally it does not make sense to have AWS as a primary backup storage, because the restore would take too long. It's not a good performance, and it's not stable enough for critical restores. So what you would do is you do a local backup on local storage, use our own deduplication, and then replicate the deduplicated data to the S3 interface into the AWS cloud, so that you have a copy in the cloud, and you can have different retention times for both backups. So if the local backup will be removed by the retention time, it will be automatically restored from AWS back to the local storage, and then restore from the local storage.
Okay, so it's a very good practice then to use AWS as your off-site storage.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's good for archiving, good for second copy, because you always have, well, to fulfill the 3-to-1 rule, you might know, for backup concepts, and this is just a media breach into AWS.
Okay. Okay, now thank you very much, Klaus, for this. It was very insightful. I just want to inform the audience that if you are interested in any of these solutions, I see a hand has been raised. I'm quickly going to ask Sibonelo to ask a question. I've allowed you to talk.
Thanks. Claude, my question is, how can I get this presentation? Because I need more time, maybe to go to, or I have to go to on your website.
Okay, I can answer that question immediately. I will make sure that you get a copy of the presentation, as well as this entire recording of this presentation will be on our website, available for replay, and by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
I can also add to this, if anyone is interested to run a proof of concept, you are welcome to contact us, and we will also contact you so that we can plan a proof of concept for you to evaluate the software. And if you also want to see a live demonstration in a live production environment, NetCB itself uses it in-house, and it's very easy for us to show you exactly how the entire system works and operates, as well as with using AWS buckets as well. Thank you. Thanks, Klaus. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, everybody. It was a pleasure.
All right, then. Until next time, please do go to www.netcb to check out future events that will be taking place as well.